There are more stars in the observable universe than there are grains of sand on every single beach, coastline, and desert on Earth combined.
Yeah, it's just a staggering fact to try and wrap your head around.
It really is. Just like let that scale wash over you for a second. More stars than grains of sand.
Right.
So, where is everybody? Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are cracking open some really brilliant notes on a concept called the civilization of the stars.
Yes, a very profound text.
And we are tackling humanity's oldest, most persistent dream, which is venturing out into that completely unfathomable expanse of space.
It really is the ultimate paradox of our existence, isn't it?
How so?
Well, we are these incredibly finite, fragile, biological beings,
Yeah.
just riding around on a tiny, unremarkable rock that happens to orbit a completely average star.
Right. Functionally, we are microscopic.
Exactly. Yet inside our skulls, we possess a consciousness capable of actually contemplating that enormous scale.
It's dizzying. I mean, it makes you feel completely insignificant, like a total speck of dust.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the very same time, it makes you feel utterly extraordinary because you know you are a speck of dust. You can mathematically measure the room you're floating in.
And that tension, that's exactly why our mission today isn't just to talk about, rocket propulsion or science fiction trope.
Right, we're going a bit deeper.
Much deeper. We're taking a wider lens to this material. We're looking at evolutionary biology, the actual neuroscience behind our relentless drive to explore, and the heavy existential weight of the Fermi paradox.
Yeah, the big stuff.
Because the core argument we're unpacking today is that becoming a spacefaring civilization isn't just some grand human adventure. It is an absolute, unavoidable necessity for our survival.
Okay, let's unpack this, because if we've established this mind-boggling, almost terrifying scale of the universe, the very first question we have to ask ourselves is why are we so thoroughly obsessed with reaching out into it?
Right, why not just stay put?
Exactly. Looking at the deep history of our species, life has this constant, undeniable pattern of expansion. I mean, we started in the oceans, we crawled out onto the land.
We moved from caves to villages.
Yeah, and from villages to these sprawling global megacities.
It is arguably the single defining characteristic of life on this planet. Life does not stay put.
It just keeps pushing.
Always. It continuously pushes into new environments, it adapts, and it expands. So from a purely biological and evolutionary perspective, space is simply the next natural frontier in that unbroken chain.
So it's not a deviation from our history.
No, not at all. It is the logical continuation of it.
I hear that, but I have to push back a little here.
Sure, go ahead.
If I look at human history, our ancestors crossed oceans or migrated across continents because they were looking for tangibles,
Right, resources.
Exactly. They wanted resources, habitable land, or a better climate. They were looking for places they could physically survive. Space is an entirely different beast.
It is definitely less hospitable.
To put it mildly, space is a lifeless vacuum. It is instantly, brutally lethal to us. It has zero air, it's bathed in cosmic radiation, and the temperatures are absolute extremes.
True.
So you can't tell me the brain views a flimsy wooden boat on the Pacific the exact same way it views a titanium tin can in a dead vacuum. Does our internal biological drive really not know the difference between a lush, undiscovered continent and a completely hostile void?
What's fascinating here is that, from a neurological standpoint, the brain actually doesn't differentiate the mortal danger of the frontier from the potential reward of the frontier.
Wait, really? It doesn't tell the difference?
It doesn't. It just registers the unknown. If we look at the mesolimbic pathway, that's the brain's dopamine system, we often mischaracterize dopamine simply as a feel-good chemical.
Right, like the reward you get when you eat a piece of cake.
Exactly, like a sugar rush.
Yeah.
But biologically, it's actually a neuromodulator designed to reward the anticipation of exploration. It rewards novelty itself.
So it's not just about getting the reward at the end. It's the chemical push that gets you to go looking for it in the first place.
You nailed it. Think about how you feel when you travel to a new city, or even just take a new route home from work.
Oh, yeah. You get that slight spike in alertness. Right?
Exactly. That engagement, that is your dopamine system lighting up. In early hominids, that chemical pathway was the evolutionary advantage that pushed them over the next hill to see if there were more berries or better shelter.
Even with the risk of predators being over that hill.
Yes, because the brain abstracts the environment. It doesn't know what a vacuum is. It just knows that the unknown holds potential.
So we're chemically incentivized to peek behind the curtain, even if the room behind the curtain is totally devoid of oxygen.
We are. The exact same biological wiring that drove ancient Polynesian navigators to sail out across treacherous, terrifying oceans without knowing if land was out there
Wow, yeah.
is the very same wiring driving aerospace engineers to look toward Mars today. Our brains are hardwired for frontiers.
That is wild.
We often frame space exploration as this modern, sterile, clinical pursuit of data. But it is actually driven by something deeply ancient. We go because our biology demands that we see what is over the horizon.
Okay, so our biology is basically giving us this persistent itch, pushing us out the door.
Exactly.
But even if we didn't have that psychological drive, astrophysics and geology give us a hard deadline to pack our bags anyway. We have to talk about the existential trigger here.
Right, the transition from the internal drive to the external physical necessity.
Because the reality is stark. No world lasts forever.
No, it doesn't.
Even if humanity somehow solves all of our political problems tomorrow, like even if we fix climate change, cure every disease, and achieve total world peace plus mall, which is a huge if.
A very huge if.
The Earth itself still has an expiration date. The sun will eventually expand and die.
True.
Now, it's billions of years from now, sure, but it is a cosmic certainty.
Yeah, but we don't even need to look billions of years into the future. We only have to look at the geological record right beneath our feet.
The mass extinctions.
Exactly. The history of Earth is a history of mass extinction events. Supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, massive tectonic shifts.
And that's before we even factor in the modern human-made threats.
Right. Global pandemics, artificial intelligence risks, or the potential for catastrophic thermonuclear war.
So what does this all mean? To me, it sounds essentially like a cosmic version of managing a 401k or a retirement portfolio. It's diversifying our investments.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
You would never go to a financial advisor and let them put every single penny of your life savings into one single, highly volatile stock.
Right. But right now, we are keeping all of our capital, all of humanity, all of our history, every piece of art, every scientific discovery, every thought anyone has ever had on one fragile rock.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it completely shifts how we should view the entire enterprise of space exploration.
It stops being a luxury.
Exactly. It moves from being a luxury to a necessity. Space agencies aren't just explorers throwing billions of dollars into the dark for the sake of science or national pride. They are effectively building the ultimate insurance policy for human consciousness.
By becoming a multi-planet species.
Yes. Building settlements on the moon, then moving on to Mars, and eventually constructing vast, self-sustaining orbiting habitats. We build in resilience. We ensure that a single bad day for Earth isn't the end of the human story entirely.
But that transition, moving from a single-planet species to a multi-planet species, it's not just a copy-paste job, is it?
Not at all.
We've established that we absolutely must leave for our own survival and that we have the biological urge to do it. But that begs a massive logistical and philosophical question.
Which is?
Are we actually mature enough to pull this off? Because surviving on Mars isn't like surviving in the wilderness on Earth.
No, the margins for error are functionally zero. And this brings up what the source material refers to as the blank slate theory.
Yeah, this part of the material really stopped me in my tracks. It's intense.
Imagine a child born beneath an alien sky. Say they are born in a second-generation settlement on Mars. They look up, and the sky isn't blue. It's like a hazy, dusty red.
And they have never felt the wind on their face without a helmet on.
Exactly. They've never seen an ocean. They've never walked in a forest. They've never smelled rain. To them, Earth is just a story. It's just a pale blue dot in their night sky.
It is a radical detachment from the biological cradle that shaped our species for millions of years.
Completely radical.
Yet the argument holds that this child would still look up at the stars and wonder. They would still ask the exact same fundamental questions we ask today.
Like, are we alone? And what are we doing here?
Exactly. The internal human questions remain entirely the same. Only the physical vantage point changes. Earth will always be the cradle of humanity. But children must eventually leave the cradle if they are to grow up.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, and where I struggle a bit with the romance of that idea. I have to wonder about the psychological and structural toll of that separation.
How do you mean? Well, if a child has absolutely zero physical connection to the natural world of Earth, if their entire reality is a manufactured metallic habitat, completely reliant on machines, do they still carry that same human essence?
Oh.
Or does that new zero-margin environment fundamentally rewrite human society.
This raises an important question about the relationship between humanity and our technology.
Yeah.
Because living in that environment requires absolute reliance on high-level engineering.
Right.
To live on Mars, your life support, your water reclamation, the very oxygen you breathe, it's all mechanically generated.
Which means whoever controls those machines basically controls the society.
Exactly. The logistics dictate the politics. On Earth, if you don't like your government, you can theoretically walk into the woods and survive,
Yeah.
trying to live off the grid.
Yeah, good luck, but it's physically possible.
Right. But on Mars, if you walk outside, you die in minutes. This terrifying reliance on technology highlights a profound observation from the text. Technology alone does not guarantee survival.
It's just a tool.
In fact, it is merely a force multiplier. Power simply amplifies existing intentions.
So a rocket can carry a telescope into orbit, or it can carry a warhead to a city. The rocket doesn't care.
The rocket doesn't care at all. It just amplifies the intent of the engineers and the politicians who built it. So if a civilization is compassionate and cooperative, technology makes that compassion immensely powerful.
But if they're not?
Right. If a civilization is driven by greed, division, and a lust for control, technology makes those traits infinitely more dangerous. Imagine a Martian colony where the oxygen supply is commodified or used as leverage in a labor dispute.
Oh, wow. It would be instantly catastrophic.
Right. So achieving a spacefaring civilization isn't just an engineering problem. It is a maturity problem. We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology.
That is a dangerous combination.
It really is. It demands long-term thinking and a shared purpose that completely supersedes our petty terrestrial squabbles.
Which, looking at human history, is an incredibly tall order. We have a track record of overcoming extraordinary challenges, yes, but we also have a deeply ingrained track record of creating entirely unnecessary suffering over, arbitrary borders and resources.
It's true.
We are giving planetary scale power to a deeply divided species.
Our wisdom absolutely must outpace our technological might if we are going to survive the transition. Becoming a multiplanetary species is a bottleneck. The future is a choice. We aren't guaranteed to survive just because we figured out the math for orbital mechanics.
That is a remarkably sobering thought. But let's play this out.
Okay.
Let's say we do make it. We leave the cradle. We don't blow ourselves up. Our wisdom catches up to our technology, and we successfully expand the galaxy.
The best case scenario.
Right. If leaving the cradle is the natural evolution of life, and if other intelligent beings out there must face this exact same technological bottleneck, we have to look around and ask, has anyone else successfully done this?
And that brings us crashing right into the great silence. The Fermi paradox.
Because going back to the sand on the beach from the start, the universe is just so vastly huge.
Incomprehensibly large.
You look at the mathematical probabilities, things like the Drake equation, which factors in the rate of star formation, the fraction of stars with planets, the likelihood of life developing.
And then intelligence developing on top of that.
Exactly. The math suggests the universe should be absolutely teeming with life. Trillions of opportunities.
It should be a crowded place.
Yet, when we point our most powerful telescopes at the sky, there is zero evidence of anyone else. No radio signals, no Dyson spheres, no alien megastructures, nothing.
Hence the paradox, famously articulated by physicist Enrico Fermi. If intelligent civilizations are probabilistically common, where's everybody?
It feels exactly like walking into a massive, cavernous stadium where a spectacular concert is supposed to be happening. The lights are blazing, the seats go all the way up to the stratosphere, you have your ticket in hand.
But it's dead silent. Nobody's playing on stage.
Right, you're just standing there in the middle of the field.
It's a very eerie feeling.
And you can't help but wonder, did everyone leave early? Did they just never show up in the first place? Or, and this is the creepy part, are they all just hiding in the dark, silently watching us?
That is a beautifully eerie way to frame it, and it perfectly encapsulates the theoretical answers to the paradox. Look at the mechanics of those answers.
Right.
One option is that the conditions for life, or the leap from single-celled organisms to complex intelligence, are so astronomically rare that we truly are the first or the only ones. We are alone in the stadium.
Which is lonely, but at least we aren't in active danger.
True. But the second option ties directly back to our previous point about technology amplifying intentions, the concept of the great filter.
Oh, right, the bottleneck.
Yes. This is the idea that there is some evolutionary or technological hurdle that is so difficult to pass it acts as a probabilistic bottleneck that wipes out almost every civilization that encounters it.
Like discovering nuclear weapons or engineering synthetic viruses or, I don't know, rendering your home planet uninhabitable before you can colonize another one?
Exactly. The chilling question is the great filter behind us in our evolutionary past?
Like becoming multicellular was the hard part.
Right. Or is it still ahead of us? Do civilizations routinely destroy themselves with their own technology before they can reach the stars?
That is bleak.
It is. Or, the third option, perhaps they are out there, but they are silently observing us. Or they are so technologically advanced that their communications look like background radiation to us. We wouldn't know what to look for.
If an ant is crawling next to a fiber optic cable, it has no idea that the entire internet is rushing past it, right? We wouldn't know a signal if it hit us in the face.
Precisely. But what is truly powerful about the material we are diving into today is the philosophical conclusion it draws from this silence.
What's that?
Because ultimately, whether that stadium is totally empty or whether it is full of hidden observers, humanity's core responsibility remains exactly the same. We must take care of civilization.
Because if life is incredibly rare, if we are the only ones who made it past the filter, then human consciousness is infinitely precious.
Yes, we are the only way the universe can think.
And if life is common and we are just the new kids on the block, then we are part of a much larger cosmic story and we have an obligation to survive long enough to play our role in it.
For millennia, human religions, philosophies, and belief systems have looked up to the heavens for meaning. They framed the stars as the realm of the gods, a place where the answers to our existence were stored, just waiting to be handed down to us.
Right.
But if we synthesize everything we've talked about today, the biology, the technology, the silence, we arrive at a massive paradigm shift. Meaning isn't found up there waiting for us. Meaning is built by those who are brave enough to go.
The stars aren't holding the answers. They are extending an invitation for us to go out and build the answers ourselves.
Exactly.
The intrinsic value of our existence doesn't diminish just because the universe is quiet. If anything, the silence elevates our responsibility. We cannot extinguish our own light because we might be the only light for millions of light years in any direction.
Which brings us to the deepest, most foundational question raised by the sheer scale of the cosmos. Moving entirely beyond the search for alien civilizations, we are forced to look inward at the nature of reality itself.
Okay.
Why does consciousness exist at all? In a universe made entirely of cold rock, burning plasma, and empty silent vacuum, why does the cosmos produce biological beings that are capable of looking around and understanding the cosmos?
You know, thinking about that, if the universe specifically produced us to have this capacity to measure it, to understand its physical laws, to feel awe when we look at a galaxy,
Yeah.
maybe our journey to the stars isn't just about human survival. I mean, we talk about diversifying our investments and not going extinct, which is incredibly pragmatic.
Very pragmatic.
But maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe consciousness is literally the universe's way of waking up. By exploring the cosmos, we aren't just tiny, insignificant beings traveling through space. We are the universe finally opening its own eyes and looking at itself.
That is a profound way to look at it. It takes that innate curiosity, that ancient dopamine drive we talked about, the urge to see what's over the next hill, and elevates it.
Yeah.
It positions human curiosity as the singular vital force carrying biology from this small, muddy planet to the farthest reaches of reality. We are the universe trying to understand itself.
It really changes everything about how you experience a night sky. It's no longer just a pretty backdrop. It's a mirror.
It is. And that is exactly the perspective we want to leave you with today.
Absolutely.
Tonight, if the sky is clear where you are, we invite you to step outside, walk away from the streetlights, look up at the night sky, and try to see it with fresh eyes. Think about the sheer, terrifying scale of it. Think about the heavy silence of the Fermi paradox.
And as you look at all those points of light, think about the grains of sand slipping through your fingers on that beach. Ask yourself the haunting question we've been circling this entire deep dive. If Earth is the cradle of humanity, are we finally mature enough to leave the cradle? And if so, what kind of children will we be among the stars?